A few years ago, I read the book Chop Wood, Carry Water by Josh Medcalf. Chapter 23 is titled The Illusion of Partially Controllable Goals. Now, it's a great book, a lot of little nuggets you can easily apply to your life or business, but in this particular chapter, the character has a goal in mind, but a series of setbacks prevent him from reaching it. The moral of the story is that there are things you can control and things that you cannot, and you shouldn't fight against those which you cannot control. So I wanted to break that down just a little bit. You have direct influence over a handful of things in your life, such as when you wake up, your exercise regime, time with your family, time spent studying, your retirement goals, the age you want to retire and how much you want to retire with, buying a new house or if you should buy your first house, if you should write a book or not. And the big one here is your attitude, something that you can very easily control. Now, obviously there are some external factors in play here, but for the most part, these are some of the events and the goals that you can actually control. And what it boils down to is that we love control because when we control things, they become predictable. However, there are those things that are outside of our control, and no matter what we do, we won't have any significant influence on them. Things such as the weather, accidents, many health issues, invitations to parties and get-togethers, when we're going to die, almost all change, the actions and attitudes of other people. Now, those things that are outside of our control are less desirable because they're unpredictable. So if there are those things we can control and they're predictable, and there are those things that we cannot control that are unpredictable, there are some that fall right into this middle category, and we label them as partially controllable. These are the I hope and I wish items. They're the if-onlys that lead us to believe that we can affect a substantial change. If only I work out more, I can avoid cancer. If only I try harder, I can be invited to that party. If only I time the stock market, I can retire early. If only I work more hours, I can avoid change. We try to manipulate our controllable events in order to change the uncontrollable. And we're trying to drag these uncontrollable events over to the controllable to move them from unpredictable to predictable. The problem is, however, that these things get stuck right here in the middle in that partially controllable space. We can't move them all the way from control, all the way to controllable and predictable, and they ultimately end up leading to one thing, and that is stress. So when we consider the illusion of partially controllable goals or events, we know that it's just that. It's an illusion. There is no such thing as a partially controllable thing in our life. It's either controllable or it's uncontrollable. And if you want to avoid this stress and accomplish more, then we have to focus on the controllable and largely ignore the uncontrollable as much as possible. We can learn from it, adapt to it, and work around those things that we cannot control. Because in the end, you have one aspect that you have completely 100% control over. It's your attitude. We can't change the weather. We can adjust how we react to it. We can't change freak accidents, but we can adjust our response. We can't change other people, but we can change our attitude toward them. So if you're looking for a life that is filled with love, filled with joy, and mostly stress-free, then you need to determine to change your attitude instead of trying to change any of the uncontrollable events in your life.